last 3 or 4 months since the first initiation of the 2 week, shelter in place, let's see what happens, started, my daily routine hasn't changed at all. I'm still going to my day job. I'm still going to my evening job. I'm still working my side hustles. So I really haven't had a chance, like you just articulated, to really kind of sit down and analyze and go through and have conversations with people. There's been some Facebook debates back and forth. There's been some, uh, I don't want to call them skirmishes, but still small sidebar conversations, but nothing in detail with my Ivory brothers and sisters, nothing in detail, even with my own family. We started meeting every other Friday now on the Zoom, but we just do that more as a sanity thing. Just let's check in, let's see everybody. But we haven't gotten to the conversation of, okay, how are you feeling about what's happened? And yes, I'm upset, but for me, it's nothing new.
Right.
So I'm not upset to the point where I'm like, oh my God, I can't function. I'm upset to the point where I'm like, okay, now we need to analyze and see what the action is. There was a video that we all looked at together, and I know that's part of what you were referencing, where some people would say they haven't experienced, some people of our complexion tone, whether they're light, dark, medium complexion, would say they haven't experienced, racism. And I find that hard to believe. Now, for me, I grew up in a totally different part of the world than you guys. Queenie, you being from the West Coast, Dwayne spending time in Colorado, Chicago, and now here in Atlanta. I'm from West Virginia, where literally there's 8 towns all next to each other, but we're all down a river. So one town is here on the river, you go further down the river, you run into another town further down, and if you drive far enough, you've crossed 9 towns and you didn't even realize it. Some towns are more developed. Some towns have a couple stoplights, and it is truly black and white. There is no in between. That's what it is. And you're going to school with these kids, you're experiencing life with these kids, but every now and again, how their parents feel rears their ugly head in your life. Wow. And I dealt with it in junior high school, where if, playing football, cheerleaders being of both races, white and black, you're speaking to one of the cheerleaders of a Caucasian race, and she's telling you that your teammates, your football teammates, are calling her in lover. So it's like, wow, now you have to kind of confront them and say, well, if she's the in lover, who's the in?
That would be you.
Can
Right?
I hear you say that to my face?
Right.
Or no, we're gonna go to battle together, we're gonna go to war together, and we're brothers, but behind closed doors. Wow. So that's how I started experiencing it in that small town atmosphere of, man, this is my friend, this is my buddy, but when he goes home, I can't go to his house.
Yeah.
He's welcome in my neighborhood. He's welcome in my house. But if I go to his house, his place. So people that say they haven't experienced this, I just don't get that. I don't understand that facet.
Yeah.
Because it's prevalent. Now, one thing that I've come to really believe and start to adopt, especially being in the body of Christ, is I try not to focus on that. Because focusing on that could bring paralyzation.
Right.
You stop. You get so angry, you lash out, you do something you're not supposed to do, and now you're in a world of hurt because of that emotional response.
Right.
So during this time, I've been having a conversation like the title of our stream is today. What now? Joe Biden says that this is a wake-up call. I'm sorry, sir. You must still be asleep. This is not a wake-up call. This happened when I was a child. This happened in my teens. It's happened over and over again in my 20s, 30s, and 40s. This is nothing new. Now it's just a new name, a new face that we're adding to the banner. Now it's hashtag George Floyd. When are we going to get to the point that we as a people say, you know what, enough is enough, and do something different than what we've been doing, so that when it's time to make change, we are in a position of power to make change? Over to you, Mr. Taylor.
So I almost don't want to speak because I don't even know if, because y'all know me. I see this world from a totally different view and plane of existence. So I I have the benefits of living in both worlds. I'm mixed, right? So I come from my mother's white, my dad's black. I grew up in Colorado. I grew up on the streets of Chicago until I was 7. Then my parents moved out to Colorado Springs. So from about 7 to 13th, I grew up in Colorado Springs. So in Colorado Springs, there was white, Native American, Mexican, black. So can't say I really experienced racism then, of course, because I was a little kid, so I wouldn't even know it. Even if it was happening to me, I probably wouldn't understand it
Hmm.
that much. I don't think at that time. When I moved to here to Georgia, of course, that's when I began to understand more of my blackness, and I began to see, um, you know, racism happen against me. Walking into a store and they following me, or walking past a white woman and she clutching her purse, or you know what I'm saying. But then at the other time, on the other side of the coin, I know that if I'm walking with a brother who's darker than me, I'm not seen as fearful as my darker brother,
Hmm.
right? So when it comes to seeing what's happening now, it's kind of like, how do I say it? Kind of like Donovan said, it's another name, it's another life, and for white people to finally wake up to what they created, because they have to understand they taught us everything that they wanted to teach us, right? You going back to the history of this land. What people don't understand is, there was an indigenous people here even before, like you said, Columbus, and they'll try to say it's the Moors, but it was even before the Moors, because there's some Native Americans who are black.
Hmm.
Black, I'm black, y'all. Blackity black, 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 y'all.
The Khalifa
And
Indians are
they
one of
tell,
them.
and they, yeah, they tell the story.
Hmm.
They tell the story of how the Moors came with that. Uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Not European, but like the European mindset, right?
Hmm.
So they came kind of like with that same kind of mindset of conquest, even though they were black. They even conquested their black brothers. So if you really want to go to the roots of it, they taught the Europeans how to act. A lot of people don't want to hear this, because the Moors came over to Britain. A lot of the British culture is Moorish culture, but a lot of people don't understand that or know that, because the history we learn over here is taught by who? The white European, right? The white European teaches us their history that happened over here. But if you really, and you're not going to learn this in our history, right? This is that type of history that's, once again, oh, you one of those deep black brothers. Nah, it's a history that's been covered up. But if you take your time to go really research it, you will understand. There are even stories about, there was a president, a black president, quote unquote, before Christopher Columbus, who was of Moorish descent.
Hmm.
Matter of fact, I'll bring up, when they were, the royal family. One of the royal family members was wearing a Moorish brooch, and they were trying to say it was racist. No, he understood what she was doing. She was paying homage to the Moors. There are pictures of even the Pope kissing the feet of black Moors. But see, you don't want to know that history, right? People don't want to receive that history, because a lot of their civilization and what they got, they learned from a black culture. I'm not saying that what they're doing is right, but what I'm saying is this thing is bigger than what we truly know. This thing is bigger than what we truly understand. The ingrainedness of the hate that's in this world goes way beyond just the European culture. It's the sin, if you want to call it. It's the sin that's in this world, right? And there's different ways you can look at it, right? A shamanic tradition sees 4 different ways. They see what they will tell you from the perception of a reptile. What that means is kind of, I'll use the military, like it's like looking through the lens of a sniper rifle, right? The only thing you can see is that black man. I can't stand that Negro, right? All they can do is see that black. That's it. So their focus is very pinpointed, right? Then you can expand out. They call it the perception from Jaguar. That's where you begin to see the duality. You begin to see the black and the white and the difference. Then there's a level called the hummingbird. That's kind of like where you're standing above it and you can see, okay, now I understand what's going on here. I got a better perception of what this thing truly is. And then they got the level of the eagle, which is from the spirit. That's where you seeing all is one and everything like that. So for me and my development where I'm at today, I'm not as, how do I say it? I'm not as caught up in it as everybody I think is, because of how I perceive this world and how I see things. And being on both sides, I can look to the white side and see that the most evilest of the white, and I can see the most the beautiful of the white. I can look down my black side. I can see the most evilest of the black, right? Because we can go over to Africa, right? Two tribes were both black. One tribe thought they were superior to another tribe, chopped off hands, feet, noses. Those were white people. It's a mindset that we're dealing with. But see, we getting caught up in the color of the thing, and it's a mindset of the thing, right? Evil is evil. It doesn't matter where the color comes from, but I can see the most evilness in the black culture, and I can see the most lovingness of the black culture. So I stand right in the middle. So I can see this thing from both sides. So when you're in the middle, you have a totally different perception than being somebody who's all the way black or somebody who's all the way white, because I can see both worlds and understand both worlds. I understand why the blacks hate the whites the way they hate the whites. I understand why the whites hate the blacks the way they hate the blacks. I get it. I see it. Evil on this side, evil on this side. It doesn't matter. Am I saying what is going on is right? No. Is there racism in this country? For sure. Is there something? Is there a a a mindset that the white culture that they created don't even understand? You know why they don't? You know why? They're like, oh, I didn't know this really existed, because their history taught us that black people were only three-fifths of a person. So we were never seen as human beings. We were always seen as animals. So if they had that ingrained in their mindset, in their DNA, in their genes, even if they're not quote unquote racist, it's still in them, because you could just hear in some of the conversations, like I could be around some of the white people and just hear some of their conversations and be like, y'all don't even hear yourselves. They don't even get it, because their history has taught them that we aren't even a whole person. We're like less than animals, not only in America, but around the world. Why do you think you see all these other countries starting to snap and raise up? Because I say this all the time. It's crazy how if you're black anywhere on this planet, you're always seen as the bottom of the shoe. And it's crazy because we are one of the cultures that brought the sciences, the mathematics, the astronomy, all that. But it's so amazing how that's been
Whitewashed.
whitewashed and covered up and making you feel ashamed, because we know once you understand who you are and when you stand in your power, they can't stop us. That's why the division keeps happening. That's why they want you to have this division. That's why they want the white and black. That's why they send in these gnomes and these what do you want to call them? These undercover agents to bring in the rhetoric, to bring in the chaos, right? So they can keep us in that place of division, because they understand if we truly unite as a people, it's a wrap. And it just so happened that this incident with George Floyd is the straw that broke the camel's back
Mm-hmm.
because people under this one are truly, truly united.
We can't
You're
hear
on
you.
mute. You're on mute.
That's right. I turn myself off so I don't interrupt. Yeah, I'm not convinced of that. That this is the straw that broke the camel's back. This is, you would, if you go back in history and look at what happened with Rodney King, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. I mean, that set off riots that lasted for days, but that was just the emotion. Emotions burn hot, fast, and burn out, and then the movement is stuck with nowhere to go. And now we're stuck with a movement that really doesn't. It's like, where's the origin of that? And I know I'm gonna step on some toes here. Where did Black Lives Matter originate from? Where did this statement just pop out of thin air from? And now we're supposed to all stand behind it. Yeah, Black Lives Matter. Now, I'm not saying that Black lives don't matter, but what does that statement, what does that bring about? What does that evoke? It evokes more division. I don't want to hear the all lives matter too. That's just the counter. So the Black Lives Matter was brought up so we could have a counter of all lives matter. And it's like, yeah, we can say, well, if all lives matter, why aren't you outraged? Huh? Exactly. It's all to bring the division. So I don't want to walk down the street and I don't want to stand around and have beautiful chants and it makes us feel good, but we never get anywhere. We paint Black Lives Matter on the street in DC and we look at that as a victory. That's not a victory. That's paint on a street.
Hmm.
That's not power. That's not change. That's not gonna stop the atrocities that happen in the ghetto, the atrocities that happen in trailer parks. Is not stopping them from happening. But see, we don't see trailer park happenings on the news. That's why we don't use the term white on white crime. What do you think is happening in trailer parks? Billy's getting drunk. Billy's beating the crap out of Jenny. Jenny's beating the crap out of the kids. Somebody's getting a gun. Somebody got their leg blown off, but they just taken to the hospital in the news. Well, that's not news. That doesn't provoke ratings. But let that happen in the quote unquote ghetto. Now we got to put that on TV. Now that's news. Now that perpetuates. Well, why don't you guys get outraged with black on black crime? Most murders happen by people of your own race, and most 9 times out of 10 is somebody that you know. So there is this whole myth of black on black, white on. There is no on crime. It's your proximity. The people you are closest in proximity with are the ones to commit crime on you. My house was broken into, not by some white person from up the street, but some black dudes right around the corner. This their neighborhood. They're looking for an easy and a quick lick. So they came into my house. Now, am I supposed to say Black Lives Matter? Because, I don't want them to go to jail. No, I want them bastards to get caught for breaking in my house. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Crime is crime. Evil is evil, regardless of who's doing it. But with this movement, now we can see that everybody's been immobilized with COVID-19 and the parameters that keep just coming out of nowhere. Nobody can find the source. Well, who said we should do this? Who said we should do that? Who are we waiting on to give the all clear? Nobody knows. Now we have this tragedy happen for George Floyd, and people that have pent up frustration. So it all spilt out into the streets. But then you have provocateurs out there that had nothing to do with the movement. That right there, for me, that's cause for everybody to say, hold up, stop. Like Dwayne said, let's go ahead and ascend to hummingbird status so we can see what's going on before we make another move. Because something is amiss, something is awry. Where did these bricks come from? Something ain't right in this scene. So we need to get off of this scene, because for me, it's not about this white man who had his knee on George Floyd's neck. That's just the fruit. And we can keep attacking the fruit, but we never get to the root. And for me, the root is the people that are sitting in the ivory towers. Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. Somebody's controlling this. Oh, it would take too much planning to control all of these things. Man, the news media, the police, they're all puppets in this. Politicians, they're all puppets in this. The story, the plan has been written, and now we're just looking for a way to implement it. And when it's implemented, they don't care what the face is or what the casualties of war are, But we keep focusing on the moment. We're stuck in a moment instead of the totality of everything that happened. And in the midst of all of this, and while we're here on Financial Freedom Fridays, is we miss Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Fed, get on the news and tell you that interest rates aren't going anywhere. They're going to print more money than can ever be paid back in anybody's lifetime. The national debt just went over $26 trillion. That's $1 trillion added to the national debt in 30 days. That has never happened before. Where is all this going to? All of this is happening simultaneously, so we can't compartmentalize. Queenie, you're a mother. You have 2 daughters. You can't focus on one and not the other. One gets attention at this time, but they both have to know that they're loved by you. They both have to have your attention. You can't say, well, I'm going to focus on Chloe exclusively. Can't do that. So we can't sit here and say, we're going to focus on the racism exclusively because that's what they want. No, ascend back to hummingbird so that you can start to propel to eagle status so you can see in the spirit what's happening. And when you understand the common denominator of what's happening, it helps you move. Oh, this is good. This is good. Jay-Z said it. It helps you move in a room full of vultures. Only an eagle can move in a room full of vultures. Back to you, Mrs. Brown.
I need a minute.
Well, why you taking your minute? Like Mr. Yarbo said, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, it all comes down to one thing, and that's money. Period. All this is about, unfortunately, the evil that is being construed is about one thing.
And Mr. Taylor, let me take it one step further, because money is just the illusion. But what does money bring with it?
Freedom.
Power.
Power.
It's all about power and control. When you have access to the illusion of money, buying power, you have power to move, to do what you want to do. You have power as a college dropout, no medical degree, never worked in science at all. You have the right to sit on TV and give us orders and give us instructions of when we can get back to normal. That's what money brings, power. Where Bill Gates can sit and say to all of America, we will not get back to normal until we vaccinate a large amount of the population.
Wow.
And here we are with an opportunity. There's a crisis for everybody. But if we look at history and we can see when there's a crisis, on the opposite side of the crisis, there is an opportunity. This is a coin. This is the head side, the B side, but there's also a tail side. If we continue to focus on one side and not the other, we miss the part of the coin and the edge where we can get in, take back our power, and take a seat at the table. See, these marches and everything we've been doing for years, we're asking for somebody to give us something. Who's going to give you power? Nobody. You got to go take it. And we can't take it by force. I'm sorry. We don't have enough guns. Yes, we do need to exercise our Second Amendment right and legally own firearms. But we don't own enough. We're not tactically sound. We're not united enough. But what we can do is start to take back the power in our own homes and control the economy in our homes and make sure that we're not affected by what's happening out there. And then once I have my home taken care of, now I can go and affect and help somebody else's home and somebody else's home. So this grassroots power take back, this grassroots, I don't know, how should we label it? This grassroots build up to take back our power is not done in the mainstream. Like Gil Scott-Heron said, the revolution will not be televised. It can't be, because if it is, we give our enemy insight into what we're doing. But when we do it collectively, together in small pockets, then come together in big pockets, a lot of people doing a little bit, Man, I just told you all about what network marketing is, and it was built for us. One of the greatest network marketers in the history. Number one was Yeshua. Number two was Madam C.J. Walker. And here we are as black folks that have gone through the educational system. They've stripped you of that and told you that that was beneath you, that your education makes you above that. Shame on you for looking down on your brothers and sisters that are trying to connect with you in systems that work. But we have to come together economically to make them their greatest. Shame on you for using your degree, your education, your intelligentsia. And I'm looking at myself in the mirror because this man, Mr. Taylor, took him 15 months to get me to connect to the most greatest system in the world. But I couldn't see it. Why? Because I went to Boston College. I worked on Wall Street. I have my Series 7 and 64 license. What can this mere mortal tell me? That's how we walk around. That's how academia has us walking around. High-minded, stupid, broke fools that are walking into a lifetime of hurt when we get older. Why? Because we act like we're aging. And me and Mr. Taylor talked about this, and I'm sorry to dominate the stream, ladies and gentlemen. We talked about this, that we're time traveling. We are time travelers. June 4th, June 4th, 2020 is in the past. We've traveled through that time and space already. This earth is continuing to spin on its axis and revolve around the earth. Every time it makes one trip around the sun for you, that is one more year that you spent on this planet. But it shouldn't be one more year older that you're getting and more decrepit that you're getting. No, this body was made perfect if you treat it and give it the nutrients and everything that it needs. This body will continue to rejuvenate. And then if you have the spirit of Christ, the same spirit that raised Christ from the dead, he will quicken your mortal bodies. But we're walking around like mere human beings without power because we have intelligence. Man, God didn't give us a mind for us to exalt it. He gave us a mind for us to move in this world, for us to experience the world, but still remembering who we are and the connection that we have with each other. Oh my God, we got to get back to that connection. And that's what COVID-19 is trying to do, is trying to strip us of that connection that we have to one another with 6 feet. What does 6 feet mean? And if y'all don't stop policing people for not being 6 feet away from you, I don't want to see you be the first person to get murdered because you cussed out the wrong person at the wrong time because they were standing 4 feet from you. Stop that. Please, man. Wake up. Stop drinking the Kool-Aid. Man, back to you, Miss Brown.
Whew. Wow. Wow. Wow.
They worried about it being a scam. But let me tell you what the biggest scam is. That education. Here's why you got scammed. Did they teach you about taxes? They did teach you about real estate. Did they teach you about assets? Did they teach you about liability? Did they teach you about income statement? They didn't teach you about none of that. The only thing your school taught you was how to be a laborer, to be a cog in the wheel. And that is it. So stop worrying about being scammed. Let me ask you this. Is it a scam to be connected with some people that are going to help you grow? Is it a scam to be connected with a group of people that's going to make you read and make you become your better self? Is it a scam that you come and learn some new knowledge? Is it a scam that you come and get some assets? Is it a scam? Is that a scam? I don't think that's a scam. I don't think it's a scam when you begin to change your circle and begin to get around egos and it helps you become the ego who you are. To me, that is not a scam. Any type of money that I've ever put into anything, I've never seen it as a scam. Because you know why? You know how I always looked at it? I was never investing in the system. I was always investing in me and what the system could teach me. And what the people around that could teach me. So anytime I took some money and put it into one of these quote unquote scams, pyramid schemes, it wasn't no scheme because it's always, I've never seen it as me giving money into the scheme. I always seen it as me investing in myself as an education. Period. So those people who want to believe that it's a scam, it's a scheme, no, my friend, you've already been scammed. You've already been schemed because you're in a system that's designed for you to be a slave for your entire life and for you to teach that to your children so they can be a slave for the rest of their life. So you the one who got scammed, my friend. So while I'm with a group of people that believe in freedom, you're the one who's going to stuck and stay stuck and stay broke. Always spinning your wheel. Why do you think there's a system called credit? Because you don't make enough money to live the life you want, so you got to live a life based off of credit. Because you don't get paid enough to just go out and buy a car. You don't get paid enough to just go out and buy furniture. You don't get paid enough to just go out and buy a house. You know what you got to do? You got to go work for some paper dollars that don't even exist, that ain't even real. And when you begin to truly study the master, right? It's just like in jujitsu. When I begin to learn to play the game how the master plays, I become a master. So you know what? I look at the people that run the game. I see what they do. So I'm going to learn what they do so I can run the game with them, while the rest of y'all want to be fooled and bamboozled by the system that they created for you. Because your mind gets fed, your ego gets fed with that intelligentsia, and you get that big S on your chest because you think you so smart, but you so smart, you so dumb, because God said he puts the simple things to confound the wise. But that's it.
And Mr. Taylor, that's because we look at our own people the way the media portrays them. We believe that we haven't been brainwashed, that we haven't been conditioned. You've been conditioned. You've been conditioned to see your brother and sister as a threat.
Yeah.
So when they bring something to you, it's like, whoa, threat, fight or flight, not stop, listen, and look, fight or flight. Go ahead, Mr. Taylor.
And you, when you brought that up, let me since we talking about black and white, I was talking to one of my brothers. Yo, you got to start saving gold. You got to start saving gold. Didn't want to listen to me. A year later, he came back around. Yo, D, yeah, I gotta start saving gold, man. I just went to this wealth building thing. I said, who was teaching you? Yeah, this white dude.
And he can hear that.
I said, oh, wow. You can receive it from him, but you couldn't receive it from your brother. And I know you. I worked with you. We worked out there, but you didn't even know this man. But because he was white and he said it, now you believe it.
He was on the stage. He had a microphone. So everything, all the position of power was there. He knows. And, that wasn't me, but that was my testimony, because I sat down with Mr. Taylor and heard the story and brushed it off. Not brush it off to the point of leave me alone, but didn't just take it to heed right away. And I know, we have to do our due diligence. Skepticism in some facets saves us from injury, from harm, from doing something detrimental to our household, so to speak. But sometimes, man, I mean, when you remove yourself from when you die to yourself, you can truly hear somebody's heart. And when you hear somebody's heart, it doesn't matter what the information they're bringing. You know that they're passionate about it, and there's got to be something good. So I need to listen a little more intently, because now I'm hearing their heart. I'm hearing their intent. Their intent is not to do me harm, not to do me ill. Their intent is, man, I love you. I want to see you win. And I found a system that helps everyone win. Yeah, I know you can't see it from the outside. And that's why I've opened the door for you to come in so you can see as well. Man, I don't know. No, it's time for I don't know. You can see what's happening in the world. We went from the greatest economy. Everything's hunky-dory. Everybody smiling and laughing, kind of like the days of Noah, eating and drinking, to all of a sudden 40 million are unemployed. Small businesses, they don't have their businesses anymore. See, a small business owner they owned a job. They weren't employed by someone else, but that job owned them. If they don't show up, if those doors don't open, money doesn't move, commerce isn't happening. And now they saw that, man, this small business, the beautician, the esthetician, they saw that, man, the masseuse. Man, I work for myself. I had clients.
Massage therapist.
Have been told to be. Say again.
Massage therapist.
Oh, massage therapist, not masseuse.
Clear it up.
Is that derogatory? Is that like saying Oriental?
That's derogatory. That's like the N word, brother.
Like you can't say Oriental. Like I'm not Oriental. No, that's the food.
No, it's not. It's like the masseuse is more of a sexual connotation.
Right.
Oh, okay. That's the happy ending.
Yeah, happy ending.
Massage therapist.
Massage therapist. Yes, there you go. Thank you.
As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, man, we're upset at what's happening. We're upset at the condition of our world and that nothing has changed. That's the biggest reason I'm upset. That now you should be able to see that nothing has changed. So the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again and expect different results.
Yeah.
So let's go march again. Let's go protest again in the streets. No, let's stop protesting in the streets and let's start protesting with our true power, like some of our more prominent leaders told us before they exited this earth, and they didn't exit on their own accord. They were removed. Martin, Malcolm, and Marcus. That's Dr. Martin Luther King, that's Malcolm X, and that's Marcus Garvey. The things that they were on before they left this earth, where they was telling us that the move now of the civil rights movement is economical. Dr. King was killed on the eve of marching to Washington, not to go preach below the big statue of President Abraham Lincoln, but he said we're going to get our check. That's what we're going for. We're going to get our check. You going to do what? Yeah. Code 17. Let's go ahead and because he's got the people's ear. And then it went by the wayside. Malcolm X was saying the same thing. We got to circulate black dollars in black neighborhoods. Our dollar has to stay here. We have over $30 billion of buying power, but it spends less than 10 minutes inside this community. And then I look at people now, man, some of the people that we know, Dwayne, they get paid and they can't wait to run across the street and spend immediately. Get paid on Thursday, and on Tuesday they're hollering broke. But when the Thursday come again, they can't wait to get across the street and spend some more. Consumerism has robbed us of our wealth. And now we're here to tell you that we have found the 4 pillars like a table. This table in front of me needs 4 pillars to keep it upright. We found the 4 pillars of wealth building, and we want to tell our people, and they're looking at us like we're talking sideways. I'm going to get a white man on my team, and he's going to be the spokesman. So I can say it, so you niggas can get your head out your tail, and you can get on this wealth train. Yeah, I said it. Over to you, Mrs. Brown. I'm done.
I'm telling your wife.
She heard me. I'm going to hear about it.
Right.
I know I'm all tough on the stream, but when I log off,
right,
I'll be her husband again.
I'm sorry, baby, I'm sorry. So the bottom line is we have the power. We are not powerless. We are not powerless. Dion said, OMG. we are not powerless. And right now should show us more clearly than ever before that we got to move, and we got to move now. There's a train coming, like you said, Donovan, before we started. And how did you describe it? There's a train coming and the light's not. Say it again. Do you remember?
That light at the end of the tunnel ain't opportunity.
Right.
That's a locomotive. And there's no way we can get out of it. Jerome Powell basically told you that there's nothing that we can do. They are out of ammunition. We knew this back in September of 2019. We knew this 2 years ago. When we started to study this, we were told about what was going to happen. And now COVID has just accelerated it. And the chairman of the Fed, the leader of the free world when it comes to monetary policy, is looking at the camera, and every word that he says is empty because he knows there's nothing that he can do. The new world order has to be ushered in to save us from this economic collapse. But you have the opportunity to connect with like-minded people like us and save yourself and your family from that locomotive that's coming. I'm sorry, Mrs. Brown. Oh, back to you.
No, I'm glad you said that. Because the truth is that time is up, and it's time to make a decision. Because if you don't, you're going to be one of those who wishes you did. And so, right now, I don't want to even belabor it anymore. I'm going to put a link in the description for you to be able to create your own free account. And as Donovan and Dwayne always say, if someone recommended that you watch this, go back to them and connect with them, and they will help you get your free account set up. But we want to help as many people as possible save your money, pay yourself first, as Mr. Pay Yourself First says, and make sure that your family is secure. It's vital right now that we start to do this. And what you're doing is you're exchanging your dollars for gold. Y'all want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's very simple. When you understand, I think the hardest part is we're addicted to a very good product, right? Like Heroin addicts are hooked to heroin. We are addicted to a very good product, and they're called greenback, Federal Reserve debt notes, right? For people to let those things come out of their hand because they think that's real value, and it's not. It's not real value. The real value, what they don't see, the reason it's hard for our people to understand is that people acquire more assets. We understand take the cash and acquire more liabilities. So what we're doing,
Stuff.
stuff, that bullshit stuff,
Hmm.
right? That bull stuff that doesn't even really matter. COVID-19 showed us we don't even need all that stuff. We went all this time without shopping. We didn't really need it. We ain't miss it, right? But be so trained, now we came back. Our fingers are burning. Oh, I can go spend this money now again. No, stop it. So all we simply do is take that cash, which is noted as a liability, right? And we exchange it for an asset, which is gold. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, building wealth is about assets. The more assets, you turned off, Mr. Yarbo. The
He's
more
back.
assets that you have, the more wealth you have. Period. So all we do is we exchange a liability for an asset in a free